There you go. Last night I had to deal with this shit.
Legal. It was a legal combo because you needed to have this like exact 2-card combination to do it, and you had ways to stop it as well. So like I get it. I get it. Very similar to Yu-Gi-Oh. Very funny.
Yeah, I'll also show you the other card that got added to the Game Changers list for a similar effect, which is Narset Parter of Veils, which also strikes a chord with
Wait, what?
the combo that you're talking about.
Cool art.
You can give that one a read if you like.
Yeah, 1 and 2 blue for a 5 loyalty.
They're letting me go first.
Really cool art. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. It's funny because like Yu-Gi-Oh that like not matter. And then -2, look at the top 4 cards of the library. You may feel like non-creature, non-land among them. Put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. That seems very strong. It's not like super flashy, but it just seems like a very like just high, especially in your game because you can draw so much. That seems like way more devastating than Yu-Gi-Oh.
On Arena,
Look into my eyes. Now tell me the things you blabbing about behind my back. Tenacity I hold is hard to back down. It's too late for apologies. It's going down.
this card right here.
Noticing a trend with a lot of blue cards here. This is Intuition, I believe. Yep.
Blue, actually quite
Search your library, it's an instant. Search your library for any 3 cards and reveal them to target opponent. He or she chooses 1, put that card to your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. Shuffle the library after. This is interesting. Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of these effects. They're typically locked to a particular archetype. So for instance, it'll say, reveal 3 mono cards, or whatever like X archetype is. So here, your opponent chooses. Sometimes they get to pick, but other times it's random, so they don't get to pick. Like they're picking, but it's whatever they pick is random. You put the face down and shuffle the hand. So these effects are actually quite common. Not for every deck, but I would say there's quite a few of them that do exist. So usually when these types of effects are in the game, you're giving your opponent like not a great choice no matter what. It's different in Commander because you only have 1 of, so like in Yu-Gi-Oh you can pick 3 of the same card because we have 3 copies of the card maximum. And it's like, oh, yeah, pick your random card, right? So
that actually did work when Intuition wasn't standard. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and that's like, it doesn't always happen because if you need a certain card, maybe you drew 1 copy of it, then it's like, oh, I can't do it, right? I think this is fine, personally. It's similar to given, but the difference is your opponent's, it's only 1 card versus 2. So they're not getting like the full combo. You said they just unban Gifts Ungiven? Yeah. So they unban Gifts Ungiven and leave this card. I think this card's fine. If they Gifts Ungiven seems better to me. So if they unbanned it and they think that card's okay, then I think Intuition. Intuition was maybe on the list and they're taking it off.
Intuition. Beautiful card. Believe it or not, this was not a game changer and got moved to the list at the same
Gifts
time
Ungiven is fine?
At the same time that they unbanned Gifts Ungiven. And I'm ready for my comment. Yeah.
It's better to play board breakers with Tenpai right now. I really don't agree with this. Kashtira is good, but it's not that good. Yep, that last card's worthless. Probably a spell that they knew was just gonna get negated.
All 5 of the cards that were unbanned were immediately moved to the game changer list.
They need me to go first. And I'm more than willing to let them get what they want here.
So I think that explains why they felt they should move Intuition to the list. It's kind of weird that it wasn't that, like, Intuition wasn't even a game changer while Gifts Ungiven was banned. And they have a very similar effect in, at least in competitive EDH. Like, it's a one-card combo. Intuition kind of does what Gifts does. It assembles a combo. Like,
Good hand.
Gives them access
Very
to the
playable.
combo either way. In CEDH, it's a card called Savine's Reclamation, and then Underworld Breach. And
They negate it again.
Lion's Eye Diamond, right? And away you go.
That's really dumb.
Yeah, cards that bring things back from the graveyard so that no matter what, like, so Savine's Reclamation has flashback, so you can cast it from your graveyard. So whether they put it in your hand or your graveyard, it gives you the Underworld Breach, and then the Underworld Breach just combos off. So yeah, Intuition has been moved now to the Game Changer list, where it probably should have been the whole time. This is an old card. This is a really expensive card.
I mean, it looks old. So. How much?
I want to find out. I want to find out.
While you find out, bit of an aside. So this is basically like painful choices. Yu-Gi-Oh! The difference is you pick 5 cards instead of 3, which is why it's way more broken in our game. For multiple reasons, but the fact that you dump 4 to grave instead of 2 is a big deal. So like in my mind, I wanted to make a painful choice, but if you said, like, in my mind, I guess I didn't think about the fact that you could unban Gifts Ungiven and put it on the Game Changers list, so that would, like, skew my perception a bit. So, if Gifts Ungiven, if I knew was on the Game Changer list, I probably would have said Intuition was as well. So that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of my bad there. But,
no, it's not your bad. It's like, I didn't ask. I didn't think that would happen, so.
So, Intuition here, $150.
Reserveless card, right?
A good card. Yeah, it's a good card.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next up, let's shake it up. Let's find a green card.
I was gonna say we've seen a bunch of blue so far. Aura Shards. This is 1 a green and a white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Ooh. People don't like when you mess with their stuff.
Nope.
Like, I think this card is fine. So, this to me seems like a card that someone on the committee was sick of losing to, so they put it on there. Or it's been on there because of that exact reason, because you showed me some things that have been banned for no reason that could come off. So, I will go with it was on the list. Oh, no, this is the Game Changer list, so this isn't banned.
Mm-hmm. It is banned in super casual play.
Game Changers list is a lot harder versus, like, banned, period, I feel like. This card, like, I mean, I get it, especially because you can summon, like, a billion guys in your game and just, like, pop every artifact and enchantment in play. Was it oppressive enough? Like, people, like, don't getting their soul rings popped.
Yeah, from your impression of the format, how important are people's artifacts and enchantments?
Well, the artifacts, especially because they're all the mana rocks, right? And so, like, the mana rocks are, like, pseudo lands in a lot of ways. So, like, you could liken this to land destruction in a sense. But, like, stop being a baby. That's like, that's just, like, how it goes. Like, if they have it, like, just deal with it. I'm gonna say, this is one of the ones where it goes against, like, how I feel. I'm gonna say they put this on the Game Changer list because people were a bunch of babies because they kept getting their mana rocks blown up by this. Even though I feel like this card's totally fine. But, like, I can't imagine this card is already on, like, all the cards you've shown me, or, like, most of them, I get it. This is the first one So to me, there's, like, in my mind, I can't imagine this was already on the list. Like, I can't imagine if I'm picking the Game Changers for my deck, then I'm gonna pick fucking Shards. I'm sorry. That's just like, well, first of all, I probably never played green and white, but,
Smart guy.
I think they put it on the list for whatever reason. So, sure.
For context, the Game Changer list came out last September. They have now had a MagicCon in Chicago to, like, analyze it, right? So, these things that they've had, they've now seen them in play in the different brackets, so that probably has to do with how they're adjusting the list here and there.
Sure.
And they also got a feedback of what should and shouldn't be on the list. Anyway, Aura Shards.
Wow, that does nothing.
Experience, as I like to present it. I got my wife got into Commander. She built her cat deck, and I got her an Aura Shard. I got her a nice foil Aura Shard. It was one of the first cards that she was I was like, ooh, I really want that. She is
How nice of you.
she is a very evil aggro player who does not really care about feelings very much. She'll beat you straight on the ground when she gets the chance. So she enjoys Aura Shards a lot. Like she plays, here's my Aura Shards. Now I make a cat and I kill that, and I make a cat and kill that, and giggles in glee, and then attacks you. The typical Commander player experience is, oh, I have Aura Shards. Okay, I'm going to play my. We'll keep it consistent. I'm going to play an elf, right?
Sure.
Ooh, I get an Aura Shards trigger. Oh, I don't really want to blow up your artifact. It makes you mana and make you mad at me. But I have this trigger. Are you gonna like feel bad? Are you gonna be mad at me if I do? I don't want to do it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't know if I should do it. That, and then every single creature entering the battlefield, we do this again. We do this again, and we do this again. And
Hey,
I've been
it's a
a
you
part of
may.
it so many
You don't have
times.
to. You don't have to resolve it. It's a you may.
I'm gonna try board
I
breakers
have
again.
seen somebody's decision paralysis fatigue of being like the baddie at the
As
table.
long as we go first on the first round, it should be fine.
Your own Aura Shards.
That's
I have seen
unbelievable. That's you're playing the card. Commit. Commit.
I can't handle that. That makes me mad. As a player at the table, I'm like,
That
for the
makes
love
me
of
mad
God,
too.
Where's my soul ring? Jesus. And we're preaching to the choir. But
Yeah,
let us know in the
Paper.
comments if we're wrong.
Let's go!
Now a game
See, what did I tell you guys?
on the way.
Oh my god, this hand sucks ass.
Same way.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
This is nonsense to me. This is.
There are cards in Yu-Gi-Oh that have like a similar effect to this, where like when you do X, destroy a card, and it's like not. You do that multiple times, and those cards are fine.
We got an Fat Veiler out.
Our game is very different, obviously, than you know. But it's like, yeah, I can't even conceive of this. I'm shocked that they put it there, but I think I'm starting to more understand the collective feeling and sentiment around Commander through your videos, of course. So this, I think I was right on the money.
Don't let anyone mislead you like you are nobody. Cause you mean so much to me. Let them laugh at you. Let's see at the end of the day who's gonna be smiling.
Give me a break.
Like reading your cards is often worse than that. It's so much worse. I don't need to zoom in on this to read this card.
In defense, this card has about as much text as a Yu-Gi-Oh card, even though half of it's flavor text. Anyway, we can fight about this all day. Mishra's Dark Shop, now that I zoomed it in 400%. This is a land. Tap to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. This mana may only be used to cast artifacts. Ooh, you've told me about how crazy artifacts have been like historically in other formats. How are they in Commander?
I mean,
Commanders are pretty good. They're pretty good. And all those mana rocks.
Aside from what's banned, they're as good as artifacts are as good as they can be.
It's weird though, because unless you're playing like a more artifact-focused deck, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I don't feel like every deck wants to play this. It's basically a.
How do they always have 3 hand traps?
Because if you don't have artifacts to cast with it, then what's the point?
I think I built.
I need their luck. Oh, never mind, I don't.
2 years. I have one of these cards.
I don't know what they're playing.
Because again, you don't get the value out of it if you don't have the artifacts to cast.
Hopefully not
So you have to
Malice.
build like a very artifact-dense deck for you to like even get the value out of it, which is kind of interesting because it's like sort of balanced in that regard, depending on like what because obviously we showed the artifact deck from what was it, Mirrodin or whatever. Like this card would be like batshit crazy in that deck. But in Commander, I mean, granted, you could build artifact. I imagine you could build artifact decks, but the problem is, it's like then. This is interesting.
I don't have a good target other than evenly matched with triple tactics thrust here.
Because
I guess Ultimate Slayer.
honestly, my scope of Commander is very little, right? I have very little experience with this format, but I don't feel like from my
You don't really need any extra copies that have a limitation on them.
50% of the deck is like artifacts or something. You want to play something like this. So
Oh, it's White Forest.
The game changer list as like a precaution initially, and now that they realize that like who cares, because like if you're gonna play an artifact deck, you need to play this. Like I think that's an incentive for deck building. Even though it's like a huge surge of power that like you just constantly get.
Probably with Fiendsmith as well.
Playing a deck that has like 4 billion artifacts in it. Commander, I don't know. I'm gonna go with my gut on this one. I think it was on the game changer list as like a precaution, and now that they've seen like the way things are playing out, they're like, we can take it off.
It's Yella.
And your gut in this case would be incorrect.
Really?
Yes, Mistress Workshop.
Adding Effect Veiler. Wait, is this their turn?
And because of the millions of words
Ain't no way, right?
in these articles, we actually have a quick explanation.
I'm
Yeah, no.
interested.
Yep. It says a land that taps for 3 mana for artifacts definitely meets some of the restrictions we put around fast mana.
Other LZ into you know who here?
This can help set you
Queen
up for the future. Apparently
of
they
the
have
White
think that
Forest.
3 mana for nothing, the cost of your land drop, is fast enough. Also, artifacts are insanely broken, and in Commander, you can definitely make a whole deck of artifacts that can pop off incredibly fast with this card.
Okay.
I agree on this one. I'm surprised this wasn't on the list to begin with. It has a very low play rate, and I think that's the reason why, but that's the only way you can justify it, because the card is super expensive and super niche. Doesn't mean it's okay, because when somebody does play it in bracket 2, it just runs away with the game so easily.
I suppose. And maybe that's just like an experience with the format, but I don't know. I feel like having a deck building incentive to be able to play. This is very much a Yu-Gi-Oh thing, where different archetypes have different pros and cons, and you're typically like, either playing a mono archetype deck or you're merging a couple archetypes together because they synergize, and like you're trading pros and cons, just like you do with the color wheel in Magic, right? Sometimes you play, certain color combinations for one reason or another, and I feel like having cards like this for the payoff of playing like a certain way are good, but I mean, again, maybe this card's just too good. So, I guess, but I don't know if I agree.
It's good analysis. I would say it applies much more to every other type than it does artifacts. Artifacts,
okay. Because they're generic, Jim. They're generic.
So many of them are, yes, absolutely. And there's plenty of artifact creature commanders too. So like, this is
Jesus.
right. Like that's a little nuts. They've gotta justify why artifact creature commanders get a dual notice, but nobody else gets a dual notice. You know what I mean? That's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, but Dual Lotus is banned.
It sure is. It's banned. It's apparently never coming back.
There goes your
poor babies. Honestly, they wrote about it, and they said Jewel Lotus was the most likely of those cards to come back, of the ones that were banned before.
I still like my balanced version of it.
Me too. Watsy?
The Jewel Lotus coming in the next secret layer sometime soon. What do we got? Deflecting Swat. This is a 2 and a red for an instant. If you control a commander, you can cast a spell without paying its mana cost, like free. You may choose new targets for target spell or ability. You may choose new targets for target spell or ability. Question on this. If you play something that says, like, draw 2 cards, can you, like, deflecting swat it so that you're the one drawing 2 cards?
Oh, fun to answer this one. It depends on the templating. So if you cast the spell Divination, which is 3 mana, and all the text is draw 2 cards, you cannot deflect and swat it because it does not target. However, if you cast the spell...
Do they have the Diabellstar quick play face down there? That would really suck.
Deflecting Swat Ancestral Recall. Note that Ancestral Recall, regardless of the latest updates, is still banned.
Sure. Yeah. No, I was just curious, like, how that works for cards that... The templating makes sense. Yu-Gi-Oh! Similar with some things. And I was curious how that works for things that, like... So it has to say target, for the most part, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay. Which a lot of things target.
So, like, Teferi's protection here does not. You couldn't do anything with deflecting swap to Teferi's protection, but you could change the target of an Aura Shard's trigger, for example. Does Yu-Gi-Oh have a card like this?
To redirect targeting effects, we do actually. I'll show it to you because you actually know what this card type is. Give me 1 second. I don't know if I don't think I'll show you this card. We have this guy here. It is. Why don't you give it a read? Actually, you're turning this into my video.
And as we tend to do lately in these episodes,
Which is fun. It's fun.
hey, watch time, baby. I'm not complaining. Karen Gorgon. Interluminescent Night.
Yep, anti-luminescent.
Okay, I'm starting to mind a little more. It's a dark. Oh god, it doesn't have levels. It has ranks. Yes. Okay. God, this is the Xyz thing.
Yes.
The attack is 2450. The defense is 1950. It's a rock.
This is a rock.
Special. During either player's turn, when another card or effect is activated that targets exactly one card on the field and no other cards, you can detach one Xyz material from this, then target another card on the field that will be an appropriate target for the card effect. That card effect now targets the new card target. Yep.
So it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. Might be worded a bit differently, but for the most, it's also cool because it doesn't have a once per turn clause on it. So hypothetically, if your opponent has like 2 targeting effects, you can like stop both in the same turn. Or a lot of cards like you can only use your effect once.
It is based up on the field, though. They know how many times they can use it. Deflecting Swat can kind of hide in the hand for the first time.
It can. But Karen Gorgon did actually see a lot of play because of the target redirection. Because even though it doesn't have like that instant speed response, it still is like.
Ah shit, it only counts the base attack. I shouldn't have bothered.
But this card never got like banned or anything. It's just like a good card that some decks would play. And I kind of look at deflecting swat like this. This is so tricky because yes, you can do it for free if you have the commander, sure. But like this effect isn't that like it can be.
I don't have any further place if I decide to commit to this, but
I can't see this as being game-changingly powerful.
they can get we shall go back or something like that.
Maybe some cards that come to mind that like target.
Fuck it, it's technically the only good play we have at this point, considering the board state.
So, I don't know. I feel like maybe they had this on the Game Changer list and they took it off for some reason or another. Like, I'm not saying this card's bad by any means. I think it's a good
It's either we lose really badly or we lose not as badly, I think, at this point.
It's like a late game push. Oh, this is so tough.
That's fine, since I'm going for fucking...
I don't know. This does not seem like game-changing material to me compared to everything else you've showed me.
Yeah. This is the card that sent me on a bit of a rant.
Oh no. Oh no.
Deflecting Swat was just added to the game changer.
They can still bring out the Book of Eclipse, dog.
I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it because...
So we have no choice but to just go into it immediately.
But hey, I get to do the thing, and I'm gonna do the thing. Something you may have missed.
Yep.
Sumo, is that, at least in terms of justifying why this got added to the list, Deflecting Swat acts like a free counter spell against other counter spells because you can change the target of a counter spell on the stack to itself.
Right, so if it's counter target spell, you can just change it to like it counters itself so that it basically collects it.
Yep.
Okay, that seems fine. Like, I don't care.
Me too. I agree. I agree.
Cool.
I can't believe this. So this, and what tilts me the most is this might be the... I told you about all
Not
the
bounce, not pop.
Most of the time I'm not even reading them all because there's too many words. There's multiple sentences written
Oh, that's just
about
like a video you and I
most of these
filmed on my
cards.
shit.
Yes. This Deflecting Swat getting added to the list gets this sentence.
Yeah, they have a good amount of follow-up. We have to rely on a miracle here.
Because it's that short. Strong, free counter magic made the list previously, and this
Dang.
often does the job of free counter magic and more. It deserves a spot on the list. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And so on the list, Force of Will, free counterspell. Fierce Guardianship, free counterspell. There's like, this is my problem. There's like a dozen more free counterspells.
Sure.
That aren't on the list. And there's nothing in the bracket system. You know, they say no looping extra turns. They say no 2-card combos. They say no mass line destruction. There's nothing about free counterspells.
Right.
Nothing about that. And I have played.
Oh yeah, Sylvie also does
I have deflecting squad
return.
amazing cards. I have deflecting squad of something called Casualties of War, which destroys like 5 target permanents. It was awesome.
That sounds great.
Card. It was awesome. But you know what? I don't even think I won that game. I'm not sure. It didn't win me.
Yeah, we're very dead here.
That's for damn sure.
That's funny.
This card, I don't think being free counter magic is enough.
It's not even always free. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think they wanted red representation on the list. That's what I think. That's my opinion.
Maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, right? Maybe we have the cohort of blue. We're infesting the committee with pro-blue propaganda that we're getting deflecting SWAT on the list, so it's one less thing we have to worry about for us blue players. Huh?
I know some of the players on the committee because they now publish who's on it, and there's some blue gamers there.
Okay, I'm just saying, like when they put
right.
stuff on the list for
That's
personal
right.
reasons,
Okay,
maybe.
all right. I'm coming around.
New perspective.
Simo, that's it. I'm coming around. This is a great move. I love everything about this. I don't want to worry about free counter magic from a red deck. I want to rule the stack as the blue mage.
Exactly.
You're right. That's 100%
It's also not even a counter spell all the time. It has to be something that targets. Like it's not a counter spell.
Yeah.
I hate you so much.
Oh my god. I am blown away that got added to the list. I will die on that.
I am also blown away that got added to the list. Yeah.
I
fine.
went off on stream. I was like,
I bet.
what are we doing? Oh
bet.
my god. Anyway, what is this card right here a new game changer or a former game changer?
Oh boy, I know this card. Consecrated Sphinx, 4 and 2. I wish I got to play this against you guys. I really did. It has flying. It's a 4/6. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. This. I would be shocked if this wasn't on the first game changer list, but I can't see them taking it off. I feel like they put this on. That like it just I can't see them it not being on the list because this card is like so incredibly good. Even though it's expensive, I feel like when this card hits the field, it's just like everyone just blows in agony. I'm gonna go it wasn't and they put it on because they forgot the first time they did this.
You're getting it. You got it. I'm sure you got it.
All right, well,
yes.
the pro-blue propagandists aren't doing a good job because this card should still be, well, it's technically still blue, but it's still blue.
Yeah, it's right there. You have to choose 3 between Ristic Study, this, Cyclonic Rift, a bunch of free counter spells. Dude, there's so many blue cards on the list. Intuition, Gifts Ungiven.
Yeah,
now
this
you
is
gotta
blue,
pick.
huh? Yeah.
It says something. Oh man, it says that blue mages design Magic the Gathering, and God bless them. I appreciate
God bless
it.
him. I agree. Imagine liking interaction. Yeah, weird. Trinisphere. I don't think I've seen this before. 3 mana for an artifact, so it's free with the other card. As long as this is untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana to cast costs 3 mana to cast. Additional mana in the cost may be paid with any color of mana or colorless mana. For example, a spell that would cost 1 in a black to cast costs 2 in a black to cast instead. So basically, it's always adding just colorless mana to the cost if it has colored mana.
Up to 3, yep.
Right. So if it's just 1 black, it would go up to 2 in black. Hypothetically.
Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I understand. It says it needs it. This card is annoying. Everything that's less than 3 costs 3. That completely wrecks all of like the cheap artifacts, which is like very anti-fun. It's kind of like the Aura Shards argument, I feel Like you can still play them, but the fact they go from like 2 to 3 or 1 to 3 is annoying. What a weird card. I feel like there was this big like discourse recently in Yu-Gi-Oh about like floodgates, your equivalent to like stacks cards and stuff. And like this is one of them. It doesn't like completely shut out your ability to play those cards, but it makes them like really expensive to the point where you probably don't even want to. I can see this from the perspective of if they're trying to if they're trying to promote like positive, fun interactions, right? I could see this being a card that wasn't on the list and they put it on the list, not necessarily because like a bunch of decks play it, but because it like is like a negative gameplay experience for a lot of people. So I'm gonna say it wasn't and they put it on.
All right, final answer on that one?
Final answer, yeah.
So Trinisphere was a game changer and has been removed from the list, which is kind of surprising. It was definitely an outlier in that there are a lot of cards that make games less fun that were not game changers, so it was kind of strange to see it there. And we can read the reasoning on this one. The card is not, this is how it literally is worded on the Wizard site. This card is not the most fun to play against, no denying that. However, it tends to be the strongest at the highest power levels, like Optimized Bracket 4 and CDH Bracket 5. There are many cards of the level of unfun stacks pieces, like Sphere of Resistance, Rule Law, Nether Void, that aren't on the list. And generally, if your deck is trying to lock other players out in a stack style, that's a play pattern that doesn't match the intent of Bracket 2, and you should bracket up. So
they're basically saying if you don't want to play with this card, pick a different bracket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's interesting because it's true what they said, and they leaned in a few different directions with the list already. They were like,
Regina.
we're not going to put all the stacks pieces that make things cost more on the list. For some reason, just this one.
Yes.
Right. Remember when we talked about the original Commander ban list, and we said it's like a signpost, right? They will ban one card, and they will try to use that card as like a don't go here, kind of like Gifts Ungiven, but leaving intuition legal, right?
It's interesting because like in Yu-Gi-Oh, the floodgates have started making their way, like basically the Trinispheres of our format, if you will, but much more enthusiasts, have slowly, and they're also older cards, which is like part of the problem. They've slowly been making their way to either banned or restricted to a singular copy, which kind of just pseudo bans them because like people wouldn't want to play a singular copy of that card. So it's weird that like they have like similar philosophies where they're trying to like get rid of like the unfun stuff, but then they're like, oh yeah, here, have Trinisphere.
Yeah. I think I think this whole approach of ban one stacks piece so everybody knows stacks pieces shouldn't be in these brackets, I think that's a holdover of the old system. I think that's some people who use the kind of signpost, make an example in the town square of card XYZ approach that the former ban list had, and I think that they're trying to move away from that, which I think is very smart, because it's silly to like target, say this one card's out of bounds and all these cards that do the same thing. Well, you're just supposed to know those are out of bounds because we banned this one. That's not how people work.
No, like, exactly. Like I feel like that's not very intuitive.
To the other one.
Right, exactly.
Yep, so less of a make an example of this and more of a, well, if we're not going to bracket, like if we're just going to use brackets, lean on the brackets. Like people don't play these unfun cards in casual because they don't line up with the goals, even if they aren't specifically banned in that bracket. You know, they just don't match the goals.
Which is weird about the bracket system. Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see like a few years down the road how this is playing out.
I think so too. Apparently, I mean, a little aside again. We can check in on that because I'm neck deep in this Discord. I put Commander games on the internet every single week.
Sure.
I have for years. When Wizards of the Coast comes out with a new thing, a new format, a new ban list, a new app for anything. Whenever our billion-dollar company makes a new thing for players, there's always a part of the player base that's memeing and laughing and LOLing at the various parts of it. And then they came out with brackets. And I still am. We're doing it right here today. I kind of laugh at this at times because there are things about this that are silly.
So
and don't
arbitrary.
Make sense. Yep. There are the things about it that don't make sense. And I find laughing at them and having kind of some pokes at them is just good-natured fun on the internet to me.
Of course. That's our job.
So when I make
That's
a Commander
depressing.
video and I say my deck is a bracket 2 because it has no game changers, or a bracket 1 with no game changers or something like that, to me this is funny, but the comments go crazy. Like the defensiveness that some people online have for the bracket system. They care so much about like the intent of the bracket system and what the bracket system is trying to do, which, you know, fair games, right? That's the goal. Have fairer games of Commander. I know that there was a need for fairness in a lot of people. I didn't know it was this strong for the bracket system because people try to light me up. He doesn't understand the bracket system. What he's doing is a bad representation of the bracket system. It's a joke. He still doesn't like brackets. Right? They just shouldn't talk about brackets if they're just going to make fun of brackets. The defensiveness of people for the bracket system is like nothing I've ever seen for something that Wizards of the Coast has released for anything.
I think it shows how much people care, though. And I think that from my very little understanding, it did seem like there was this issue where when people wanted to play Commander with other people, it's hard to assess like how the power levels of your decks all stack up against each other. And you can make the argument that like
this lab troll might not be all that useful. I'm just gonna set this down and pray.
Someone else is playing fucking like Blue Eyes structure deck, right? Then like that's like we don't have this like dialogue prior to what's the power level of your deck, right? Like we don't really have that conversation. So I mean I think it's just more about both Magic, but also just being able to play the Magic that they like to play. And in defense of Wizards, as an outsider, of course, I would say it's very interesting, this approach that they're taking to it. I mean, obviously, Commander is the most popular format, and I think they want to make sure that people can all have a good time playing the way that they want to play. So I think they're trying to address that and make it more formalized. And again, we can all just poke and laugh at it at times, but I think that shows that like they care, right? So I think that's for better or for worse. I think that's like a positive step in the right direction, even if you need to course correct later down the road. But again, I'm the outsider here. I haven't played this game for 20 years, so.
It's a good perspective. And to those of you in the comments, I will continue to make jokes because that's who I am. Hopefully you've watched me enough to know I don't stop joking around about anything. But if you love the bracket system and like you want to be outspoken about its misuse or whatever you want to do, that's your right as a fan. I get it. I'm probably still going to do this. I don't think I know another way with a microphone in front of me. I don't.
It's an interesting topic because, and we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but
sure.
Yu-Gi-Oh has this has kind of come up in the discourse lately, where Yu-Gi-Oh has a similar problem where because we are an eternal format, our biggest issue is that most of the time, like, cards have to
Drawing block I really shouldn't have put down.
Right, because you need the power level of each.
How was I supposed to know I was playing against Brick Ice?
And so people have been having this discussion lately of it sucks that there are so many potential decks that are like fun and cool and interesting and interactive, but they are just completely gate-kept and unplayable by the fact that like the top meta decks in the format, because we only have one format, the top meta decks just have a stranglehold over like what is allowed to be played. And so a similar discussion comes up of like, what if there was a way to like tier decks in a sense so that like people can play their like roguish, like like the bracket 2 or bracket 3 decks where everything in Yu-Gi-Oh has to be a fucking 5, otherwise it's like unplayable. So because there is a lot of it sucks looking at a set when a new set comes out and it's like, oh, these cards are interesting, but they just lose to the best 3 decks in the format because they're like not good enough. And that just gets like frustrating every single time a set comes out that happens more often than not, unless the cards read.
I like this Blue Eyes art.
First read like tier element, right? I keep going back to that. But when we first saw this, we knew this was going to be like the best deck, like until they hit it in some capacity. And so it's an interesting discussion for sure. Your company actually like does something about it.
They're trying for Commander, yeah. Actually, at least they're trying. You know, I'll make jokes, but hey, I know they love the game, so we roll with it and do our best. All right, next card.
Oh, we're still playing cards here. Field of the Dead.
Okay,
Hey,
that's
Andy
a
used this
good
against me, and I was very mad about this. This enters the battlefield tapped. Oh, wait, no, this is not the card I'm thinking of. I'm thinking
No,
of
it's not.
Field of Ruin?
Ruin. Yeah.
Okay, it was a
you're thinking
different
of
field.
Ruin.
Sorry. This artist was for the record. Field of the Dead enters tapped. It taps for a colorless, and then when Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie. That's a really cool card. I like that a lot. I like the art of this too. God, if I start buying Magic cards, I'll have to get like this version of this. This is sick. Is this a game changer?
It's either a game changer or a former game changer.
7 or more lands with different names. I feel like that's such a threshold you have to get to for this card to like start being good. Different names. You can ramp. Artifacts don't count for this. So like maybe you could get this into play like turn 4, turn 5, maybe turn 3 if you have like a crazy ramp hand. But even then, it's like summoning a 2/2 zombie every time you get a land into play, like that broken? I don't know. This seems like a fine card to me. Like, it seems good. Don't get me wrong. So, former game changer? They take this one off?
Final answer?
Yeah?
I wish you were right.
Wow.
This has been added to the game changer list.
You agree with that?
No.
Okay.
This was the other one. This was my other
deflecting SWAT?
ultra mega rant. Oh, I think the rant went bigger and harder. What you said, like a busted hand, maybe you start making zombies on turn 3, and
But
with
every deck can high roll. Like that's
Yep.
whatever. Yeah.
And with combinations, there are ways to make 5 or 6 zombies a turn. If you have Crucible of Worlds and Fetch Lands and Azusa, some 3-card combo, and you might make 6 to 10 power a turn of zombies.
Oh, crazy.
I don't get it, dude. I'm like, so the usual, if you have this in a green lands deck, the normal experience will probably be somewhere between turn 4 and turn 7. You start
Something
making.
right on.
Yep, you start making 2/2 zombies, and you might make 2 or 3 a turn using landfall strategies. I don't know about you, but usually in my Magic the Gathering games of Commander, the game in turn 7 and 8 is in like the end time.
Like end game.
Yes. The opponent's going to play something that pumps their army of little dorks into mega minions and win. And that is like another card added to the field combo if you're using Field of the Dead to make your dorks. There's a lot of ways to make dorks. There's a lot of ways to get little monsters that then get pumped up and kill the opponent with Crater of Behemoth or whatnot. Or there's 100 combos. There's storm turns. There's whatever all that shit was that you did with Tevel and Omniscience. Like that's the stuff people are doing, and we're game changing Field of the Dead. You make some 2/2s. I just
Is there a written explanation for this one?
There is. Let's read it. It takes so little for a land to be strong. Sounds like an intro to a documentary. It takes so little for a land to be strong. Though it only makes colorless mana and enters tapped, getting Field of the Dead online is incredibly easy. Once you do that, with fetch lands, additional land drops, and more, this land can churn out 3 or more zombie tokens a turn. Which doesn't sound too wild, until you consider that, once again, it's a land. Those zombies protect your life total and close out games. It was strong enough to make the Game Changers list for us.
They're gonna take this off the next Game Changers list, guaranteed.
I hope so. So Field of the Dead is banned on Magic Arena in the Brawl format and has been for many years. And I've been saying for a long time it should be unbanned there because, again, the combo decks just go right over the top of it. Like,
Sure.
whatever mid-range game plan they're trying to define with Field of the Dead is not. It's not what the Brawl format is. It's not what Commander is. Like, it's a go big, go over the top. And sure, you can combine Field of the Dead with a card like Scapeshift. Scapeshift says sack all your lands, search your library, put a bunch of lands on the battlefield. So, like, when you do this with Field of the Dead, you might make, like, somewhere between 12 and 20 zombies. Your opponents have 120 life between them. And
Exactly.
I guarantee they're spending their time and effort on something equal to or more powerful.
And if they let you get to Field of the Escape Shift and you lose, that's on you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we're on the same page. This
Yeah.
card is cool. This
It's
card
cool.
it's a beloved card. I don't get it.
It's not going to see play now, I'll tell you that.
It's going to be in bracket 3. It's going to be rough because there's so many game changers on the list now.
Right.
Picking 3 is so hard. But bracket 4 and bracket 5, it's not good there.
No.
It doesn't see CDH play. It's
No.
useless there. It feels like they banned it from the whole format with this move. That's how
Literally.
I think it is.
Yeah. And that's sometimes like Yu-Gi-Oh will do that where they make a card, but it effectively bans it because like you would never play it like otherwise, unless you could play multiple copies or something like that. So yeah, I mean they basically banned it in a way.
I hate it, man. I love this card. And a lot of people love this card. The biggest thing about Field of the Dead for me was like it was kind of a stressor on me when I started playing Commander because I could put it in almost any deck. Like I was like, it's so easy to turn this on.
You're like, why not just play Field of the Dead? Yeah.
And so I only owned one copy, so like which deck to put it in was my great dilemma. And I feel like there might be some of that ubiquity here of like maybe they got sick of building mana bases around Field of the Dead or something, but I don't think that's a good enough reason. You don't have to play it. You know why I cut it from most of my decks? Because it didn't matter if it was in there. Okay. I'm with you on this one. I'm with you.
I'm glad.
You did say for the record, take it off, right? I'm with you.
I said, yeah, I was wrong, but I was right in spirit.
We're both. I would go down. I'll take that L as well. It's fine. I feel like we all lost something in this experience.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, new card. I don't know if I've ever shown you this card.
Food Chain. Doesn't look familiar. 2 green for an enchantment. Exile a creature you control. Add X mana of any one color, where X is 1 plus the exile creature's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. I'm assuming you can do this as many times as you want in turn, correct?
Does it say you can?
Thank you very much. I set you up.
Yeah.
That seems potentially very good. I'm thinking of like strategies where you can put out a bunch of stuff and then just like sacrifice it all to food chain, and then you could play some big creature and just like win the game as a result of that. So that seems pretty good. I've been very wrong about everything else up until this point. So our streak is not going particularly well. If it were up to me, I would say that this has like some alarm bells, and I feel like this should be on the list. But then you're gonna be like, this card like sucks, and they took it off or something like that. I'm gonna say it wasn't, and they put it on. I don't know. This card just screams there's like abuse to be had here. It's very cheap, especially in green. I feel like there's a lot of ways to abuse this card. So I'm gonna say this was not on the list and is now on the list.
And you would be correct.
Oh, good.
That is correct.
Right.
Food Chain has been added to the Game Changer list. Something you may have missed. Oh God, I see why you do it. It feels so good.
It's fun, isn't it? You can sack the same
actually is.
creature to food chain. that what I
You
missed?
yes, your commander specifically.
Oh,
So,
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about
so
that. That's
when
interesting.
when you exile your commander to food chain, it's going to make mana and send the commander back to the command zone. So if you have a commander like let's show you Voxy's favorite commander here, Prosh, Sky Raider of Kerr. When this enters the battlefield, it creates X01 Kobold creature tokens, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prosh.
I see where this is
So,
going. Yep.
you exile the Prosh and you get 7 mana. If you exile any of these little kobolds, those are 1 mana each. Because it's 1 plus the mana value of 0, which gives you enough mana to recast Prosh, which makes the kobolds again. This time
Yeah,
it's more
depressing.
because you spent more mana.
It
And
is the big
continue
problem
until you have
with
infinite
hand
kobolds,
trap
infinite mana,
Drytron.
and an infinitely power Prosh. So if you have a way
The
to
draw
bring
phase
it
has
at the
never
opponent
been a
or make it attack
very
the turn
kind
it
to
comes out,
Drytron to begin with, regardless of
you
what
did pretty
variant you're
good.
using,
You
to
did
be
pretty
fair.
good. There's a lot of ways to win a game from that position. So Food Chain is a combo-tastic card. Not to mention this card is one of the great pieces of Magic history. In an Eternal format, they'll print a card eventually that does everything.
Oh,
So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mist Hollow Griffin. You may cast it from exile. So if you exile a Mist Hollow Griffin with Food Chain, it's now in exile. You can cast it from exile with the mana from the Food Chain, which nets you a +1 mana, and do it again, and you have infinite mana on the spot.
Food Chain is very much like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Like, obviously we don't have costs, but like this type of like enabler to do like crazy bullshit, like a card like this would exist in Yu-Gi-Oh 100%.
Yeah, I think this was a miss for the original Game Changer list that they should have done. I'm actually really happy about this because I feel for Voxy. She loves Prosh, Sky Raider of Kerr. But
I
she
didn't know
has
that was
to
her favorite
tell,
commander.
yeah, every time she plays it, she has to tell the opponents, I'm not running Food Chain. Because she's not trying to like combo kill them that cheesy. It's considered a very cheesy win to Food Chain people when your commander is one of the many commanders built to abuse Food Chain. So she always has to explain, I don't have Food Chain, and it throws people's, like if she doesn't have this conversation, it throws everybody's perception of the deck off completely.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's funny.
So actually this is a good thing because now she can be like, it's bracket 2 Prosh, so there's no Food Chain, right? So
That's
easy.
true.
Easy conversation to have.
Easy.
Let's go with, oh, you remember this card probably.
Necropotence. This does look familiar. You may show me a different art though. It's triple black for an enchantment. Skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down.
I keep thinking about changing decks, but really the only other deck I really feel like playing is Ryzeal.
God, how is you're gonna tell me they took this off? This card just seems insane. I feel like they have but then that means it was off before.
Yeah,
which is
it
like
means they
even
did
more
have it on
crazy.
before.
They're like, oh, sorry guys, we missed this. This one seems nuts. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
one
feel
of the
like
most popular cards of all time, Necropotence.
I feel like it should be on there. You're gonna tell me it was and they took it off.
King
So
Sark.
I will take the L. I think it should be on there though.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't put it on the list.
That's
it wasn't on the list.
How did they miss this? This card's crazy.
No, and they
were too busy worried about Field of the Dead. Excuse me.
It's
and deflecting SWAT,
and
you know,
Trinisphere,
and
they had
Trinisphere, yeah,
on there.
Big commander warping Trinisphere. God, heaven forbid. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So Necropotence was one of the almost. Like from the moment they revealed the list in the
everyone's like,
comments
"Where's
on Twitch,
Necropotence?"
yeah, where's Necropotence? Yeah. So it's one of the most easy additions to the list I think there could possibly be, and they did it. Glory, hallelujah.
Not much to say.
Free at last.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still there, but at least there's a semi-restriction.
Yep. It's a thing. All right, let's do this one then, and I got another black card.
Orcish Bowmasters. This is 1 and a black for an Orc Archer, 1/1 with Flash.
What
when
the
this
fuck?
enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card, except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, this deals 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1. What the hell does that mean?
That means you create a token that's a 0/0, and you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Who the fuck
and
sets
any
Temple of
future
the Kings before
amasses
activating
add a
it?
+1/+1 counter to that army token. It's called an army.
So it's 1 token, but it keeps getting the counters.
Yep, it keeps getting the counters.
Okay, so you don't keep making tokens. Got it. Okay.
That's right. What do you think of this card?
Whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw on each of their draw steps. Or when it enters. I guess you can flash it when they're going to do something that draws cards. And then you get to pop something, or deal damage to something rather, and then you get another guy. Does it check each card? So if I draw 2, do I deal 2 damage and amass 2?
That is correct.
Ooh. Okay, so that's very interesting, because in Yu-Gi-Oh!, most of the time if there's an effect like that, Maxi, for instance, your favorite little insect, if you special summon 5 monsters at the same time, you only get 1 draw off of Maxi. But if you special summon those 5 monsters individually, you get 1 draw per. So, interesting. That makes this card a lot better than I first thought. At first, I was like, why are you showing me this, like, at all? Like, it seems fine, but it could be annoying. For Commander, though, I feel like this would be better in, like, other formats, like Standard or, like, Modern. I don't know about Commander. But I could be wrong. But I guess if you have 3 opponents, that changes this card too, because then like they all do it, and then you're amassing a lot faster. Ooh, that's something too to think about. Because then you can like amass like 7 by the time your turn rolls around, and it's like turn 2, and you have like a big guy. And you've dealt 7 damage to something on top of it, which is like annoying. Huh. Interesting. The more I like realize, the more I just like analyze this card, the more I'm like, oh, this card's actually like extremely good. It's like one of those cards that it's not super flashy, I feel like, but it's just like very efficient at what it does.
Good little Bomi, isn't it? Homie the Bomi.
Would they have to put this on the Game Changers list? This doesn't like, this doesn't scream Game Changer to me. It's like, it's good, but I don't know. Maybe they put it there because they were afraid and they took it off. You're gonna tell me they put this on the list, I swear.
Will I?
Probably.
This is a tough one for you. I like this. I like this.
I feel like the hardest cards to evaluate are the ones that are like just like not flashy but super efficient, right? Because like, I feel like it could go either way. And obviously, with my limited time playing the game, like I would have more experience. But that's obviously the whole point of us doing this. Turn 2, everything coming. Okay, if you have 3 opponents, let me think about this. Everyone's playing like some things. If they're playing mana rocks, this doesn't matter. But if they play like guys, the guys are probably going to have like 2 to 3 toughness on turn 2. And if your opponent's drawing stuff, then you can like just like shoot those things down while you're like slowly getting another guy. And then it's like they aren't developing a board at all if they're playing stuff that's like a mana dork, or if they're just playing like whatever efficient, like Hermit Druid or like something like that. They can just like kill that.
We also talked about wheels with the things that prevent the draws before.
Yeah.
So a Bowmaster there. It's interesting. Would you rather have the you don't draw any cards and you sit there with nothing in your hand, or you have Bowmasters, which deals 21 points of damage to all these targets and makes a 21 power creature?
I can't believe I'm going to say this, because initially I was like, this is fine. But I actually think maybe they did put this on the list. It's like, it's weird to compare this to like fucking Necropotence, but
oh, that still frees up a slot.
yeah, I'm gonna say they
That's how that works.
I don't feel good about
They
it.
can't go face down.
Wrong,
I guess
think they
that
like
makes
it.
a lot of sense. I've never...
Why do you think they would do that?
I don't know. It just seems like the more I think about it, the more impressive it kind of is with like the pinging. Like the amassing is fine too, but the fact that you have to ping down all your opponent's stuff, that every time they're like getting extra draws, and it's just like all this like free removal in a way, like it floats. It's like bonus removal. I feel like that would just be very frustrating to play against, especially if you're like at a lower tier. because you're wanting like your things to stick and like to do your big thing. So that's like my guess.
And you would be correct.
Wow.
Orcish Bowmasters was added to the Game Changer list, along with Narset and Notion Thief, who I showed you earlier. And they were categorized together in a group, which I don't think does justice to Orcish Bowmasters. So I showed it to you separately so I can monologue about it a little bit. Because this card, I think everybody thought it was good, and then they actually played it when it came out, of course, in the Lord of the Rings set. You can see the little
I see the ring
symbol there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So this was I mean, everybody was nuts about the One Ring from day one, but they weren't all on board with Bowmasters until you felt it on the battlefield. First of all, this is the best two dudes card ever printed. There's a ton of cards in Magic history that are 2 mana for 2 creatures, and they vary in their usefulness among different formats and strategies. This is 2 mana for 2 dudes, but also 1 damage to any target, which on its own really shut down a lot of 1 toughness creatures in the format. I mean, it just, because on its own, like say the opponent has 2 1/1 dudes, right, who aren't Orcish Bowmasters. You kill one, you block the other with your other 1/1. It's
just probably crushed aggro.
Yeah, absolutely brutal card in 1v1 formats. Then they started playing it in Commander. And honestly, it found its best homes in CEDH.
Really?
Yes, it went into CEDH, and some consider it one of the most like format warping cards ever in CEDH. Let's talk about it. So there's the surprise Bowmaster when the opponent like goes for a wheel and you make all that power and toughness, and then if the turn gets back to you,
Oh shit, my time limit, I forgot. God damn it.
That's really good. That's nice. Yep. That feels good. Yep. Here's the more common problem. Player A gets a Rhystic Study. Player B has a Bowmaster.
Oh, God.
And they work together.
Oh, no.
Player C and D are fucked. It's over. So, like, any kind of mana dork, like 1 mana 0/1 creature that taps for mana, any kind of a stacks piece creature that's only like 1 toughness, got just removed from the format. Like,
and I imagine CEDH is playing like super low cost stuff already. Like just
they try. Yeah. It's a very low curve format. So like a lot of things that were very competitive are much less competitive now because of Bowmasters. Like it runs those things.
That's so interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
And again, like talk about just like super cards. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you and I were playing a Commander game, say with Boxy and Amy, for example, and Amy had a Rhystic Study and Boxy had a Bowmaster, and so like Boxy's just casting spells, letting Amy draw cards, so that the Bowmasters is shooting our creatures, and the army becomes. I've seen armies over 20 easily. I've seen.
Don't give them the idea, buddy. Hopefully they don't watch this.
No way they would listen to us for this long. Are you kidding?
To be fair, we're an hour and a half in, so yeah, we're pretty safe.
So yeah, this card does a lot of things to a Commander game, and they're not good. It's a brutal card. I'm glad you got there because it is an unassuming card on first read.
It's very unassuming.
I had no idea on first read this was going to change the meta.
I love when that happens though. When we first see cards and we're like, it's whatever, and then it ends up being like the format warping card before. Just like I love it.
All right, I got one more. You got one more in you?
One more. Let's do it. We're almost at the end. Trouble in Pairs. Hey, it's us. 2 mana and 2 white.
It's a plagiarism of us. So I'm going to I have to address this now because people are going to type in the comments. There's a controversy with the art of this card. It contains like plagiarized pieces of art from like 5 other art pieces.
Does it
like
really?
copy pasted. It does.
Okay, here's the real question. Are you the person with the mohawk or the headband?
Headband, obviously.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm the mohawk person.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, we're on the same page. No. All right, anyway, this is an enchantment that features yours truly. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. Whenever an opponent attacks you with creatures, draws their second card each turn, or cast their second spell each turn, you draw a card. I'm assuming if they do all 3, you can draw 3 cards.
Yes.
Okay. Need to clarify that. Actually, 2 more creatures draws their second card this turn, cast their second spell. Okay, so I think the first part of this text is like whatever. I mean, there are extra turn stuff, but I mean,
No, come
you
on.
can't account for that. So I think it's like more about the second effect. If I had to guess, like if the first thing comes up, sure. We're here to draw cards. It's kind of annoying because they can choose not to attack you with 2 or more creatures. That's pretty easy for them to avoid potentially, depending on the deck. If it's a deck that goes wide, maybe they can't afford to do that, but you can sort of control that. Drawing their second card is sure that really difficult. There's a lot of decks want to have card draw, and then casting their second spell each turn is also very difficult. There's a lot of people want to play their stuff. It doesn't like keep going, right? It's only when they play the second when you draw cards, not like the third spell they draw 2.
That is correct.
Okay, so at most this is drawing 1 cards 2, if all 3 things happen, which could happen. You have 3 opponents.
Yeah, you have 3 opponents. Yep.
Yep, you have 3 opponents, so you could hypothetically draw 9 off of this in like a perfect world. But let's even say you draw like 4, 5, 6, because like you just don't attack other things. But like playing their second spell, especially if this is on turn 4, if you're playing like green, maybe you can rent this out a little bit sooner. That seems pretty likely they might play 2 things, because generally the card kind of lends itself that way.
So it's like also cast second spells or draw second cards on other players' turns.
That's true. If they have like instant speed stuff, like Bowmaster, for instance, they can try to like play around this. It's like white.
That shit, I didn't mean to.
At home.
I thought right click was to cancel.
But, you know,
Oh, too late.
They really tried.
So cute.
Apparently, I'm fucking getting rid of everything. Stop
Think
it.
about this in the context of Commander. Being able to draw that many cards. That Ristic Study is a game changer. This is not Ristic Study, but it is close in a lot of ways because people need to like do things during their turn. Especially in the later stages. Like if you're playing this on 4, it's pretty likely people are going to be drawing multiple cards, or playing at least more than 1 card, or attacking with 2 things. I can't see a world where this was initially on the list and then they took it off when Ristic Study is still on the list. But like maybe they're like, oh, white sucks. Here, you have this now. You know, have fun. It's a tough one.
It's a borderline one. It could go either way.
I want to say, because Ristic Study is also a game changer, that this is a game changer too. So I'm going to go with that logic, because that was the logic with Intuition and Gifts Ungiven. So I'm going to go with that same logic.
I'm just going to say, I did some quick math. Your current score on this video is 6 and 6. You are
so this is going to determine it. No!
This is going to determine.
Oh my god.
This is going to determine above or below 50%. Are you sure on your answer? You locking it in?
I'm going to lock it in.
All right, that this is now a game changer.
Yes.
And I'm regret to inform you that Trouble in Pairs is no longer a game changer. It was on the initial list, and it got removed.
That's okay. I kind of get it.
I was really surprised. Like, this is one of the first things I saw. I still think Trouble in Pairs is like draw a card if you sneeze. And my argument was that the reason they can take it off the list is because you players out there forget your triggers so much it doesn't draw as many cards as it should.
Possible.
I think that's very realistic. I've been in enough Commander games. I know how it goes. How many times have I sat there being like, oh, I got to remind them about their Trouble in Pairs.
Yep.
But God, watching them draw these cards is pissing me off. I think this is a really good card. The explanation said it is the first card being delisted ever from the Game Changers list, so there's that. This card has emerged as a standout card since it was released about a year ago. While it can draw a lot of cards, it's on par with some cards that are not on the list. I'm curious what those are. Like,
But it's on par with some cards that are on the list. So, like, what's the difference?
Yeah, the general feeling is that it is slightly under the bar for the Game Changers list, and we are probably jumped the starting line a little on this one. It's plausible it could get added back in the future as the list evolves and they receive more feedback.
Oh, I'm gonna be so mad if they put it back on. I will.
Because of the video? Just because of the video?
Yeah. It's like I keep making the analogy to Ristic Study. It's not Ristic Study, but it's like it's pretty damn close. I think the biggest problem is honestly it probably costs 4 mana. I think that's like the biggest thing. If it costs 2, it probably would still be on there.
You know what this means? You know what this means? Every time you have a bad video, I really have to buckle up for next week's video on your channel.
Oh yeah.
You know, the Yu-Gi-Oh timer always reminds me of why I don't agree with how long the timer is in Advance Wars by Web and stuff. Max's Egg Cup tournament giving each player fucking 48-hour timers is ridiculous.
We'll see. Thank you for watching or listening to the Covert Go podcast.
Live matches are my favorite to watch because of how little time both players get. Your ability to quickly think is very important. Chess wouldn't suddenly become higher skilled if the chess timer wasn't implemented anymore. I'm pretty sure it'd be the opposite. Give people time, and time will show how unfair turn-based games can be. I could have won round 1 and I'm very salty that I didn't. But it's my fault since I don't know jack shit about this stupid ass rogue deck that I don't want to bother learning. We may as well try. We know they have a negate for it, but I need it out. I wasn't expecting that would actually work. I thought they had a Dark Ruler No More thingy. Unless the Dark Ruler No More thingy doesn't apply for whatchamacalls them. This is a really good trap. Holy shit. At least it won't go back to the spell and trap zone this way. Yeah, there was no way back. Cause once your finish comes back, they can't. Wait. Let me read this again. If 10 or more cards and or effects have been activated during this turn, holy shit! What? Special summon this card as an effect monster. Set it in your spell and trap zone. Okay, yeah, this was never going to happen ever again. Again, if it's a monster, what happens when it comes back to the from banishment? Does it still retain this effect? Because if it doesn't, then yeah, the concession makes a lot of sense here. I'll have to look that up later. Anyway, fuck it, let's play one more game with Ryzeal and then I'm fucking done. Good old Ryzeal. Scissors. Again. Fuck off! Public Wi-Fi diff. Oh. No, they bricked. That sure accomplished something from them. I guess we still go for Ice Rise Eel here since it's still our most valuable playmaker. Plus it is the one with the highest attack. Oh, it's Crystron. If we can get Ice to stick, this Molt Charming in our hand can still do something. Sulfaneer on Grave is going to be able to do something, unfortunately. Good. It's over! I normal summon Molt Charmy for a... They can get their one draw. I'm not doing anything more than just this. Ah, shit.
Alam, hindi na init yung tubig. Okay na.
Oh, umiinit yung tubig nyo.
It looks like they just had a rough time. Look at that. Hello, mathematicians. Today we finally got a heat map diving deep into the meta decks and what their weaknesses are. And yes, this heat map is made up of over 10K recorded games that we got from the Duelist Cup. Oh, and I've made some crazy discoveries with the data because I owe the big data guy, assuming Tenpai's surprise weakness. I can't believe it. And also a surprise best deck in the Duelist Cup. And it's not what you think. It's not going to be Snake Eyes or Tenpai. And all of this data, by the way, is a big thank you to Nizu, who actually organized this whole thing and got a bunch of people together to put in all this data, and we were able to record over 10K games in the Duelist Cup thanks to these very strong, a lot of professional players, active players in the community, and it's all thanks to Nizu. I'm going to go more on him later in the video, but really just wanted to give him a shout out early in the video too, because this is a team effort. He had a big thing to do. So real quick, how the data was collected, because I don't want to give you guys skewed data. Let's show you how it was collected real quick. He would have us, right? This is all of us here. Like, it was this a conglomeration of people. I think there was over 50 of us that was contributing to doing the data. We would say what deck we used, and then we would say what the opponent's deck, if we went first or second, the result, our points before or after, and it gave us some data, and that data that it would give led to this giant heat map here. Yes, it's so big right now. This is the zoomed out version, and I didn't even catch it. It goes down even more, but we're going to go really in depth on this, and I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to talk about it, and it's going to be really interesting because I got a lot of stuff to say about it. Again, including some surprise weaknesses I found of Tenpai, and some Snake Eyes had some really good interesting stuff. But also what I wanted to promise to tell you too is the surprise best deck that I found going with this data here that we also gathered. We could get the win rates going first and going second, and there was a deck that actually had more win rates going first and going second. Now you could see here that the best win rate looks to be like Chimera, but it has a very abysmal going second win rate, and pretty much overall 100%. Like, I don't really like that. Really what's interesting to me is, well, first I do want to also point out that the deck that won was Snake Eyes, and he also, I guess, bounced back between Snake Eyes and Ritual Beast. So it's good to know that that is solid, and it does have numbers. If you add up both of these going first and second, it's about 110, that looks like. Yeah, and having a good overall win rate of 47%. But there is another deck that I really want to turn your attention to. Take a look at the deck that came in second here. Branded came in second, the whole thing. And look at this. It's the only deck here that has a positive over 50%, right? Oh, because that was the next one that came closest, was maybe Exodia. Over 50% rate going first and second. The only deck list to do that.
and has a really good win rate going first at that. So even though it only had an overall win rate of 56, I do want to highlight that because that's a really, if you add them together, that's a 118% win rate going like if you add these two together, really interesting. And also I want to point out too, this guy in particular, by the way, look at this card right here. Nobody runs this card. This is just completely aside from the heat map and other stuff. I just like to point out random obsculate data right here. Ally of Judge's Cycle Reader right here. During either player's turn, discard this card to the graveyard. Target 2 light monsters in your opponent's graveyard. Banish those targets. So quick effect, really, to discard this card and banish 2 light monsters. Very interesting that he brought that in his main deck, 60 card deck, by the way. He was using that. If me or you included that in our deck, people would call us crazy. But look, that guy got global rank 2 main decking, also a 60 card deck. I'm a big fan of 60 card decks. So not only is he using a good tech card, it's the reason
It's
why
a double
I think
DD
60
Crow.
card
It's a
decks,
pretty good
when
hand
built
trap.
properly, can
Like, holy
definitely
shit.
beat 40 card decks. And that's really good information there to show. But again, going to this win rate data, you can see here we've got a lot of good win rates here with these couple things. I wouldn't really look at these data here down here because again, a lot of it is skewed. Ritual Beast actually having the highest win rate, tied with Chimera going anything, if anything, having probably the best consistency wise, because that's also 111 right there, a really good amount, but I just don't like it's going second win percentage. Anyways, let's move on to something real quick before we talk about the heat maps. I do want to talk about how you can get involved if you want to do this kind of thing. You could reach out to Nezu, but here are the rules so you know what you're getting yourself into. You have to play at least 100 games during the Duelist Cup weekend. So not following those rules could get you into an immediate permanent ban. So just letting you know, if you want to get into this Discord, contact him, but only if you're serious about it. And he did give me a pass. I was only able to do 33 games over it, but I was so busy with making videos and stuff, but he did give me a pass on it. So really big thank you to him, and I give him all the credit. I asked him if he wanted to remain anonymous, and he wants the credit, and he does. He gets full credit. Give him a huge thank you, because the data that I'm going to talk about next, the heat map data, could not have been done without this guy right here, Nezu, or maybe it's Nizu, I don't know, but whatever. What I do know is this guy is a huge blessing for the community. So awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And he wants more help in finding more participants, because there was about 50 of us. It's going on, it's slobber knocking away. And again, the guy that won in this thing did over 350 games, so really kudos to him. I feel bad I was only able to do 33 games, but I was really busy over the weekend. But he wasn't mad at all that I was able to do my 100 games. So thank goodness, he's a really good guy. Also, if you like these kind of videos, before I go into the heat map and stuff, give us a like, join our Discord. We have our own separate Discord too. But give us a like, and for more math and stats, come give us a sub. And let's dive into the heat map, because that's where we're going to find out what Tenpai and Snake Eyes are really weak to. And I want to dive into that so bad. Let's talk about it right now. Okay, so here we go. We have the heat map here, and right away I want to start with the Tenpai Dragon heat map. Why do I want to start with Tenpai Dragon? Because so many people are like, I can't stand Tenpai. How do I beat it, right? And it's such an interesting deck. It's a go second deck. So let's look at Tenpai first. We'll look at all some of the other meta contentions ones. Look at this. A lot of matches against Snake Eye. 56% win ratio against Snake Eye, which was probably considered the best deck in that event in the most recent Duelist Cup. You can see here, so anything between, like, I would say 50 and 60%, like 45 to 55% would be like neutral. 65% really taking a beating to really giving a beating, I should say, to Rescue Ace. Now here's something interesting. Look at this. Stun and Labyrinth, 39% and 40% respectively win rate, which means it's losing to them like 60% of the time. And what's really interesting about these decks is
Dim Barrier doesn't do much against Crystron.
Throw heavy decks, so it's giving way to saying that, hey,
A very
Tenpai
important
might be very
thing
weak
to
these
note
back
about
row heavy
Crystron
decks,
is that they
even though
do their
they
synchro
usually
summon
slot
on the
in, like,
opponent's
Heavy
turn,
Storm,
similar to
Feathers
Centurion.
Duster, Lightning Storm, and
Except
they're still
they're
getting
actually a
losing
little
more than they're
safer.
winning by a fair amount. And maybe it's because, too, they're having good times against Snake Eyes and stuff, those more monster-heavy decks, because they run the Forbidden Droplets, the Ash Blossoms, and stuff like that. And maybe that's having more of, like, the hand traps are having more of an effect on the Stun and Labyrinth, these back row decks, they're not really affecting them, but they're having more effect on the monster-heavy matchups. Let's continue. Let's see if we can see something here. Like, look at that. Like, these good win ratios against Voiceless and Unchained, really taking it to Galaxy Tachyon, even though they were just 8 and 3. So that's not a big enough, I wouldn't say that's a big enough, what would you call it, like, range of numbers. I would say anything that's like 50 matches or more. Like, look at this, 64 and 50, having a good 50%. That's a good data pool, I would say. You know what I'm saying? If we got over 50 matches. Let's keep going here. I don't want to count this Ignister because there's only 3 matches. That's not a good enough sample size. Look at this Dinomorphia. Oh my gosh. It went 19 and 50. Only a 28% win ratio. Tenpai again, Dinomorphia, a back row heavy deck. So there we go. Something to note that these back row heavy decks are really putting it to Tenpai.
Extra normal
So
summoning
if
is such a
Tenpai is
stupid
your weakness
mechanic.
and you really want to give it to Tenpai, I would say play a back row heavy deck. Let's look at something else. Let's take a look at Snake Eyes, which was considered the best event, the best deck to use in the event. Of course, it went 50% against its own type here. Let's see. Yep, losing to Tenpai, of course. Yep, and you can see here the math does math here, because 56 here, 44 there, that equals 100. You know, we always want to make sure the math is mathing. That's how you make sure stuff is adding up there. So, yeah, losing to Tenpai. What else? What else does Snake Eyes lose to? Interesting, Rescue Ace, but that's too much of a small sample size. Not enough people were using Rescue Ace, and I don't want to count that in. Losing to Blue Eyes, Labyrinth, and this was Blue Eyes, I believe, before the Primate came out. Primate recently came out, this recent pack, so I can assure you that the Blue Eyes is going to do even better here. Went 82 to 95. All right, losing there, pretty much doing good against everyone else. The Math Mech, maybe no, just 5 and 6. That's not a good enough sample size. I want something with good girth again. Dinomorphia here, losing to Dinomorphia 20 to 33. But interestingly enough, the stats on Dinomorphia weren't that crazy. So why are these big decks losing to Dinomorphia? Interesting. And then the numbers start getting low there. Actually, that's pretty big here. Ritual Beast, just barely beating them there. Can I go down to, interesting, let's go down to Dinomorphia. I don't think there was many Dinomorphia players that are in the stats and statistics. You can see here, there's all these different people who played the decks and stuff, but let's see how our Dinomorphia players did. So we do have a good sample size here. Yeah, it looks like they did pretty good overall, having positive win ratios, losing to Labyrinth, okay, and only one against a Voiceless Voice player. I don't want to count these. So see, a lot of small sample sizes. Only really having, because there's probably like only one person that played Dinomorphia in this event. Going against Unknown, doing pretty good there. So that's interesting. So really then, the players that played Dinomorphia doing really good. Wow, look at that. 50 to 19. 72% win ratio Dinomorphia, our Dinomorphia player, had against Tenpai. Really, really good. Wow. So that is interesting. That is very, very interesting for sure. Wow. Okay, so that's good to know. Some other decks that did good. Exodia, let's take a look at that. A lot of people playing Exodia. Really, it looks like it wasn't doing that, having that good of a matchup. So I don't see any significant data here. Not many people playing this event played Exodia, right? So we can ignore that. Voice's Voice was what I played. I had a good time with it. And yeah, this seems to be about what I saw. Again, not much data, because I was one of the Voice's Voice players chugging in the data. And most of my matches went against Tenpai. And I had about like a 50% win ratio against them. So very interesting. Let's look at my data later if we want. But another deck I do want to highlight is the Branded deck, because remember, Branded actually secretly had the most win rate of all of these decks here. Even though, look at this, it lost 41% of the time to Snake Eyes, but it made up for that with 59% winning White Forest. Again, losing to Tenpai, so it's actually losing to the most meta threats, but then if it's playing anything that's not those, doing really good against the trap decks. So funny enough, the meta decks were struggling against the trap decks. Branded excels against the trap decks, and maybe because it's very good in the grind game. Branded does have that slobber knocker. It keeps coming back. And really good in the grind game. Losing to Blue Eyes, though, a good amount. So Branded is something very interesting to note. Really taking it to Exodia, but just only 5 and 1. The sample size of Branded, really small. Really small. So I did want to see that. So, 75% too. Played a good deal of unknown decks. And it's unknown because sometimes they either, like Brandon goes first, they do their combo, and then they give up. So we didn't know what they played. So sometimes it's an unknown deck when we didn't know what they played because you can't go back into the replays to look what they played. So a lot of times I'm guessing when they saw they were up against Brandon, people just giving up too. So that's interesting there. Again, they didn't do that well against Tenpai and Snake Eyes, but it still technically had a really good overall win rate going first and second. So that's really good to know. Good to know. And then just did good against White Forest. Let's take a look at White Forest, speaking of which. A lot of people played White Forest, and it looks like it did just like fairly middle of the pack. Look at all these 50% win ratios. Really giving it to tier elements though, huh? Just staying in a nice 50% win ratio, really giving it to tier. And then Voiceless Voice again, not that many players there, but yeah, right in the middle of the pack, losing their only 2 games against Unchained there. But yeah, nothing too crazy. But having about a 50% win ratio against the Dynamorphia, so interesting. I really like to look at these stats and analyze them. That's what. And then again, icon there. Let's see how it did against the Unknown. 147 to 27. So what happened is people, like, they're going against White Forest. White Forest is doing their long combo, and they're like, no, I quit. Speaking of which, a lot of people really quit against tier when they're doing all of their millings. They can't take it. They're like, no, that's too long. So that's really good to see the unknown percentage, which is just like
They would have been able.
you're able to combo
They should have just waited, because Myria Logic would have been negatable with Spirit, and then they could have just quick effect summoned, and then I still wouldn't have been able to do anything.
I just give up. So that's kind of interesting. I would never give up, especially if I don't know what I'm playing against. I want to at least see if they brick or not. So some funny stuff there. I can't believe that. But yeah, people giving up to Blue Eyes the most, it looks like. Very, very interesting. I say Blue Eyes the most, even though Rescuers has 100%. But again, I won't count it unless there's at least 50 games played. I need to see at least a substantial sample size. I'll count this as enough, almost 50 games. That 91% is really good there. Really, really good. I want to see if anything else got a big sample size. Usually the lower I get, definitely less sample size. So really, really good. And again, this is just really fun to see. And you could have saw they had like a trending deck section, which was interesting. You could see who did good. Congratulations again to Nickel Boy, who accumulated so many points. I couldn't compete that much in the event, so I'm over here barely contributing to the data. I came in like 40th place. So again, I played my Voiceless Voice, and I was going against a lot of Tenpai. I played about 33 matches, but the guy that won did about, let me see, Nick Boy, I believe he recorded, look, so you can see if you went first or second, you record your points, you record your opponent's deck. The guy that won did Tenpai Dragon, used Tenpai Dragon for the event of our big people that did it, and he accumulated so many points, 324 matches of data he gave. Look at that. So not only was he doing a lot of matches, but he was contributing a lot of data to the event. So thank you for that, for contributing to data and making us all better players, because we really love to see all the different decks that was in here. We used a variety of decks. Over 50 decks were used, deck types for this, so we accumulated data. And again, taking a look at that heat map, I'll just go over like this so you guys can stop and see if there's like certain data you need to see or wanted to see, because again, it's really hard when you're looking at the heat map to kind of see what you wanted to see. And there's a lot to take in. There's a lot with this, right? Let's look at Cash Tier. Maybe some people want to look at our Cash Tier players that have a unique game plan. Again, kind of middle of the pack, doesn't really stand out on anything. Again, having a good matchup against Tier, I feel like Tier really wasn't doing that well. Going to the end there, again, going against Unknown, all right. Nothing really of note interesting, but I do want to go to Tier now, because it looks like they just had a rough time. Look at that. Tier having a rough time versus Snake Eyes, having a rough time versus White Forest, just having a rough time in general. Maybe, and I don't want to sound too crazy, but then maybe we could take something off of the ban list for Tier, because it looks like they're having a rough time. But as soon as I say that, I mean a lot of their cards are banned. So that's just something to maybe wonder, because they didn't do quite good. So I wonder if Konami kind of looks at this stuff too and looks at the heat map. So again, if you're playing in the Master Duel event, the next Duelist Cup, I wouldn't take Temp tier because it looks like they had a pretty rough time. So yeah, and interesting, these trap decks, again, had a bad time versus some and then had a really good time versus others. So the trap decks having, oh no, that's not right here. These two trap decks, middling against Snake Eyes, but then doing really good against Tenpai. These trap decks really giving it to Tenpai, giving them a good shellabbing, a good shellacking. Wow. So these two trap decks, I like how they're together too, so we can analyze the data that way. Nice, nice, nice. Let's see, against the unknown decks too. Yeah, see, won't really play against that many unknown decks because if they're a trap deck, you'll kind of know, and their turns don't take too long. So very interesting. I like to see this data. The best thing about this data, I would say, is the meta decks actually had a very hard time playing against stun and trap based deck. So if you don't like playing against Snake Eyes and Tenpai, your best bet would I would say, learn Dynamorphia, learn Stun. I say that with an asterisk because I don't think anybody should learn Stun. That's unhealthy. But learn Labyrinth then. Labyrinth's kind of fun, and I think Labyrinth is a fun deck because it's a healthy, more trap-based deck and more skillful. So yeah, learn Labyrinth, learn Dynamorphia. Dynamorphia is kind of stunned. Learn Labyrinth. If you don't like these meta decks, learn Labyrinth. That's what I'm just gonna stay with that. Really cool stuff analyzing that heat map. Okay, to finish off, this replay was sent in by Lucky Bread. Lucky Bread's going first. He's got something to show me, he said. And, all right, and we're going against the player. Right, he's a player. All right, we're getting some Anking, baby. We're going to get some Exodia going on. Shield of the Millennium Ankh. We're just going to show that. Bad boy. Now we're going to have two Ankhs in the hand. You know, they say a bird in the hand is better than the bird in the bush. Well, here, two Ankhs in the hand is better than two shields in the bush, I guess. And now we're going into the Golem. The Golem's just going to show stuff. So basically, that just means we don't have to pay any life points. We're going to get that temple. What's the temple we're going to go into now? What are we going to go into? We're going to show basically both of these. We're going to show the Ankh again. Just getting a lot of these Millennium cards out. Ooh, a Maiden of the Millennium Moon. This card's not played that often. Interesting. All right, now we're going to go into here. We're going to go into the Silhouette Rabbit. Interesting because the rabbit does get rid of itself when we do Ankh. So we're going to use that for the angel statue. And now here we go. He's of course going to use the shiny one he got. Nice gold at the top there. Really showing us the power of the Egyptian wealth. Going into the Unstoppable Zodiacarnate. I love this. And let's take a look at what the Maiden of the Moon does real quick. If your opponent activates any kind of card, special summon it, and then they can't target level 5 or higher illusion or spellcaster monsters with card effects. Well, that's an illusion or higher spellcaster monster that can't get targeted by card effects. But what's going on? Why didn't we negate this? Oh no. You should have just negated that first before you did that. Now he's negated anyways. Unless there's something I'm missing here. That's a misplay. You had to negate. You could have negated the Imperm, then got that, because at least you'd have Exodia right now without Imperm, then summon this afterwards. Oh no, I think that's a horrible misplay. Alright, so now we're going against a Blue Eyes player, and we misplayed ourselves. So I believe we misplayed, even though I really like this.
I'm watching Yu-Gi-Oh! While playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Bring these unique cards. This card, not really used that much in Millennium, and I was looking forward to see this tech coming in clutch. But I think you're so interested in showing me this tech. But what still works, though, is this Fires of Rage. This will destroy stuff, but no, he's got the Primate Drill Beam, and Drill Beam really puts in work because not only does that banish, but it also negates. So get that out of here. The Fires of Rage, of course, would have destroyed all of the cards on the field, including the True Light. But now instead of True Light getting destroyed, Blue Eyes White Dragon coming out clutch here. But the Heart of the Blue Eyes, which he did discard earlier, if your special opponent special summons something that's level 8 or higher, send that to the graveyard and special summon this guy. So even though the Unstoppable Exodia is negated, his friends are still backing him up kind of pretty hard. You're seeing the cards around it still putting in work. But who else is putting in work is the Blue Eyes player. It's like he's working overtime trying to get his overtime hours because he's still comboing through this. He does not care that you just did all that stuff that he's showing. In fact, now he's going to go into Tyrant Dragon here. Tyrant Dragon, deadly, can attack all your opponent's monsters once each. That is, if he did it, came out summoned naturally, but Angel Summon is going to come out and stop that, and then basically I'm lagging a little bit behind here. So the angel summon, hold on, the angel's statue stopped the tyrant dragon, which came out because that came out naturally. So that when they come out naturally like that, the angel statue can stop that. The inherent summon, we like to call that. So that's how that guy get away, because otherwise tyrant dragon would have been able to attack everything once each. And then the spirit with blue eyes just attacked the Exodia cards, which is pretty cool. And then, ew, time tearing Morganite. Not really a fan of that card, but it is what it is. Kind of cool. All right, so what do we got here? Blue eyes gonna target some stuff, explode this. That's gonna send everything in the backfield. That's pretty cool. Probably Doom Dragon here. Whenever I see 2 cards in the backfield go away, I know it's gonna be Doom Dragon. Spirit of Blue Eyes gets targeted, but that's not gonna matter because Effect Veiler's here to come and clutch off the top rope, getting tag teamed in like the Hardy Boys coming in, stopping the Doom Dragon. But we still have a lot of my bodies on the field, so we're gonna do, and we still have the Millennium Arc, the second Millennium Arc, going into SP Little Knight. We know that SP Little Knight's gonna be able to maybe get rid of something. Ooh, getting rid of Drill Beam, good target, because we know how endless recursion that is. And no, we're not gonna use the Arc. Do we have one of the Millennium cards in here at the grave? Why can't we use that Arc? I don't know why. Maybe that's something I miss overlooked. I don't know why we can't use Arc, but apparently we can't use Arc right now, which I don't know why. Unless he only has one unstoppable Exodia Incarnate in his deck. He does! Only one unstoppable Exodia Incarnate? Oh, that's why he can't use the second Arc. He can only one Arc because he's only got one Exodia. Alright, I'm missing what the Blue Eyes player is doing. He's doing something with Ultimate Dragon. Oh, you must have targeted the Blue Eyes card. Neo Blue Eyes does not like when you target the Blue Eyes card. When this card, I probably missed some stuff because I was looking at that. By the way, if this Neo's Ultimate was probably in the card because of the Tyrant Dragon, if Neo's, if you target, by the way, let me just bring up my mouse here. When a card or effect is activated that targets a Blue Eyes monster you control, banish this card from your graveyard, negate, and destroy that card. So this is a secret protection effect that just chills in the graveyard. A lot of people forget about it, but I think that's what happened. The SP Little Knight probably targeted one of his Blue Eyes cards, and there you go. But here we go, that little Maiden of the Millennium Moon coming back again, coming in clutch, okay, and she counts as an illusion monster, by the way, which is really interesting. So she can't be destroyed by battle. So he's got a little bit of protection going on here. That's kind of cool, but it's crazy that you're running these Millennium cards and only one Exodia Incarnate. Definitely got to go back to the drawing board. I'd put 2 Exodia Incarnates in there, but now you're looking at something deadly here. We're looking at 2 Spirit Dragons here in a blood, turning the Spirit into an Ultimate Spirit. So, oh my gosh, deadly. And this second Ultimate Spirit is going to turn into the Crimson Dragon. Oh my gosh. And Crimson Dragon's going to target the Ultimate, and now he's going to go into Cosmic Blazar, definitely. Oh no, sorry. I misguessed there. Stardust Severe Divine Dragon. Look at me, I'm jumping the gun. I thought it was going to be Cosmic Blazar. Everyone goes into Cosmic Blazar. Even my mom goes into Cosmic Blazar. Everyone who just started playing the game goes into Cosmic Blazar. My niece who just started playing the game goes into Cosmic Blazar. But no, Stardust Severe is actually the better choice here because Stardust Severe does protect you from the cards that, because Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon will send them to the end of the turn that are going to be destroyed, but he protects them. So actually, that was the better choice. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Blue Eyes. This guy's the Blue Eyes Master. That's why he's doing this. All right, we're getting some more odd stuff here. So even though we can't, we're doing that, we're still showing the Oct and getting these 3 special summons. So the Millennium is still putting in work, even though their boss is out of service. It's like, you know, those undercover bosses, when the boss reveals himself, well, now the boss quit, and it's just these cards going, and oh my gosh, all of these cards going into attack mode, that's a lot of damage. But again, the Waju Temple putting everything in the backfield, nice and safe, nice and cozy, and again, nothing can stop the Millennium Moon, and because he's got no outs to this, what, he gives up? Oh my gosh, he surrenders. I think it's